whether it was really vegetarian, whether there was no pork, whether there was no anything inside the different dishes. And we assured this, and more and more the relationship grew. And finally, it was the time for prayer. And we had no space in the house for 11 men to pray. And so fortunately, we had a huge terrace. We arranged for a prayer on the terrace. It was not too cold. And they pray on the terrace of our house. Why I sharing these details? Because that was the way I met Professor Shomali. That was the way we started a friendship. And that friendship became mutual. And we met several times in the course of 3 or 4 years, till we managed, 4 of us from our office, to visit Iran. And that was really the turning point, because, I realized how much in the West we are biased by stereotypes about Iran. We have been biased by stereotypes about Iran for decades after the revolution took place in Iran. And probably the other way around, because we know how the world is geared to move. And I realized that only when I landed into Tehran, and I spent these 10 days with Professor Shomali, his family, and all the friends, among them also Israel. Now, what happened in Iran? In Iran, we realized that we were invited to speak to Shia students about our Christian Catholic experience. And that was very clear that we had a Catholic experience to share, a Christian spiritual experience to share. And this is a point which I believe is fundamental in interreligious dialogue, the fact of identities. I remember one of the authorities from COP, when he came to conclude this 1 week long program that we had, when we shared with him, in front of him, our experiences, he commented at the end, at least it was translated to me in this way, but I believe it corresponded to the truth. He said, I see that here there are clear identities, so we don't have to fear one from the other. And I was very relieved. I remember that I commented with Professor Shomali how important it is to know who we are and to be aware of our identities. And it was during this trip that, apart from from the living experience, also academic dimension, which emerged in those days, visiting different institutions and meeting different students. It was also in those days that we developed more and more a closeness of hearts. We became more and more like really brothers and sisters, to the point that we had meals together. We were guests of the family of Professor Shomali, but also there was the desire to continue this friendship and also to go deeper into more theological, spiritual and theological dimensions. I remember during a trip between Isfahan and Qom, we spoke about the possibility of some students, ladies, to spend time in Loppiano to have an experience in a fully Catholic, I don't say Christian, but Catholic world, because that was a risk, we must say the truth, for us, but also for them. But the proposal could not come but at that time when a great trust was already built, one for the other. And the project developed quite quickly. Within a few months, Isa and some other ladies were in Loppiano, accompanied by Professor Shomali and his wife. And unfortunately, or fortunately, let's say, at the airport we had a big mishappening, because the bag, or let's say the passport of Professor Shomali's wife was robbed. That was the welcome of Fiumicino Airport to our brothers and sisters. and practically they had to stay instead of a few days for longer time. And it was at that time that Professor Shomali met also with Piero Coda, and something happened in their meeting, and they understood that the relationship, which started with different expressions of this Christian, let's say, reality, which is the focolare movement, could also take a dimension which is academic and experiential at the same time, deeply spiritual, and which is named Wings of Unity. But at this point, I would ask Shomali to go on with this relating this experience.
Yeah, thank you, Roberto. And I think that starting from the unexpected things that might happen in dialogue and the path that you showed us, I think it's good. It's going to be great right now to hear from you, Imam Shomali. How was your side of the coin? How did you live this moment?
In the name of God, the Compassionate, the Merciful, I am very pleased to be with you and to share with Roberto and Isra this panel with you. And I am very delighted also to see familiar faces, my sisters. So, and also Benny. So, my relation with Focolare started late 90s in the UK. And the first time I visited Lo Piano was in 1999, when the Focolare movement invited about maybe 300 Muslims to Muslim convention in the eve of Millennium. And then I went again next year, the year after, in 2000, and with one of a very good Focolare friend, Dimitri. I had a personal, with him, we were alone. Last time we were with hundreds of people to explore more the Christian world. And so over decades we built relations, and Roberto mentioned some of the turning points and highlights. So what happened was we already had dialogue, and what I would like to emphasize on is that dialogue is not the end. Not the end of a process, and not the end as the ultimate end. Dialogue is a necessary stage, a necessary end and means together, but it's not end of the story. So we already had very good dialogue from the first encounter I had with the Focolare friends and with some other Christian friends. We had very good, respectful dialogue because we are both aware of our identity, as Roberto mentioned, as what we want to achieve. We didn't want to convert the other party. We were not, also diluting our own faith. We were keeping our faith clear, but using our faith as a bridge, not as something to isolate us or to confine us. So from the very beginning, we had very good dialogue. But our relation grew so much that we reached the point that we could share our concerns with each other, our thoughts with each other. We could plan together, we could think together, not just talk together, just think together. So to make the story short, when we were in February 2015 with a group of ladies who were visiting for the second time, but this time for a month, Lo Piano, for a small formation. So thanks to God, we had to stay longer because of the issue that had happened to us. And one of the things happened was that there was a meeting with the staff and students of Sofia. And Sofia plays a very important role in our relation. So we had a meeting with the staff and the students, and there was also a Buddhist monk at the same time visiting, so we shared this meeting, and the topic was about Sophia, or wisdom. And it went very well, and we had very good encounter with some of the students, And it was in the same meeting that Professor Piero Coda, who was at that time the president of Sofia, invited me. Of course, we knew each other for some time, but he invited me in that meeting to go and teach about Islamic perspective on interreligious dialogue, because they were introducing a new MA program and they were thinking of inviting different faith representatives. So when I went there for the first time to give 4 lectures in April 2016, I was already thinking that we need to go to the next stage, but I was not sure. I had met Piero on several occasions, but I have never worked with Piero closely. So with some friends in UK, Focolare friends in the UK, even if Roberto maybe remembers, once also I came to Rome in the Lateran University. There was a program, and then after that we went for dinner, and again I talked to Roberto. So I was thinking, what can be the next stage? So all this process of thinking and contemplation led to suggesting to Piero something in April 2016. And I said to Piero that I believe that you are committed to the cause of unity, because I know my Focolare friends have dedicated their lives to the charisma of unity. And they are very serious about it, they are very sincere about it. So I said, I know you are committed to it. I think maybe I am also committed. I'm not sure about myself, but I think I am committed. But it seems that we are not going that much further. We have very good relation, but it seems we are somehow stuck. And at that time I had moved to the Islamic Center in London. I said I can come, because before that I was mostly in Iran for some years. So I said I can come every few months from London, and we can discuss ideas that we think are helpful and ask God to guide us. This is the key point. I said if we sincerely ask God for guidance, He would help us. But I cannot say to God, I have done my best for understanding, if I only discuss with Muslim brothers and sisters and only read Muslim texts. And you cannot perhaps say to God that you struggled for guidance and understanding God's will if you only discuss with Christian brothers and sisters and read Christian texts. Let us put everything that we have received in our traditions on the table and pray and ask God to guide us. He may guide us through your mouth or my mouth or someone else, doesn't matter. We need guidance from God wherever it comes. He welcomed very much the idea, and he said, what should we call this? I was not thinking of a name because I was not sure that it's going to accept or not, just came to my mind, Wings of Unity. And I thought we as Muslims and Christians can be 2 wings for unity. And he welcomed, and later I realized that actually coda means tail in Italian. So he said, okay, perfect, we have 2 wings and tail, so we have no problem. We can fly. We just need the Holy Spirit to send the wind so that we can fly. And soon in his diary, which is very busy, we managed to find a time to meet in July for the first Wings of Unity, and it was excellent. One of our friends who has his PhD with Piero on interreligious dialogue, he was so impressed that I remember the second day before we started, he said his idea about dialogue changed. He was new to our relation. And for us all was very amazing. We were people who were deeply rooted in their tradition, committed to their faith, but we were many times not feeling who is Christian, who is Muslim. Although we are very clear, we are not diluting, we are not, liberal, but we were not thinking in most of the time who is Christian, who is Muslim. We are seeing presence of God so strong, like when sun is shining, you don't see the stars. The stars are there, but you don't see the stars. So the light that God was providing us with was so strong that we could just feel united under God. So we plan to continue, and one of the things that we decided was to have a summer course for some 20 Shia youths, some 20 Christian youths to meet in Tonadico, northern Italy. And later I would request if you could play that a slideshow that one of Sophia's students has prepared. So, and we kept meeting. We had so far 9 rounds of Wings of Unity, many times in Lopiano, but also sometimes we went to Trento or Tonadico. And I can tell you it's so powerful that over COVID, we did almost everything on Zoom, almost everything. But when it came to Wings of Unity, I felt we cannot do Wings of Unity on Zoom. This is perhaps the only thing that we didn't try on Zoom because it's so powerful that we didn't want to experience it in another way. So, okay, let's wait because we want to experience it with the same level of strength and depth. So we are more than ever hopeful that in our Wings of Unity, which is like a laboratory, we can come up with a model of unity that if it is presented to other people, if they see it working, then many people would welcome. We saw that some of our young professionals who are practicing from US, from Canada, from Europe, from Iran, with their Christian counterparts, who met each other for the first time. We knew each other for years, but they met each other for the first time. Over a week, not just actually end of the week, after few meetings, the unity was so strong among them that they felt the unity which existed between us. It's like you spend time making a lake, but then other people can just dive into it. They don't need to also make another lake, for years. They can just, when they saw relation between us, Muslims and Christians, and when they are very careful, of course, they are very observant. When they see how we look with eyes at each other, how we, all the expressions of, our face, etc., they realize that we love each other. We are not, worried about each other. We are actually very much loving each other. They welcomed and they absorbed it. I just mentioned one story, and then if you could please share this video. So when we went to the Dolomites, the mountain in Tonadico, so there was a moment that some youths sat on a cliff on the edge of the mountain, just seeing the beautiful sky on the horizon. And then some others joined, some Christians, some Muslims, youths, no plan, nothing. They just started praying to God. One of our young professionals, actually, he has 2 PhDs now. At that time he had not finished. So in his 30s, he's very educated, from Montreal. He said later, I had such a tranquility at that time that I asked God, I want to die with this tranquility. So when I die, I want to have the same tranquility. And I said, this is core of Wings of Unity, that when presence of a believer from another tradition, doesn't disturb you, rather helps you in connection with God. The true sense of unity is that when I am with a Christian Mu'min believer or Muslim Mu'min believer, and I'm another tradition, I should see the value, and I should see that this relation is helping me, because this relation is for God and helps me in my relation with God. It doesn't confuse me, it doesn't puzzle me, it doesn't trouble me. It's not something that I have to tolerate. I wish he was not there when I am praying to God, but now I should be kind. No, it helps me, because this is for the sake of God, and this allows God to work in me better. So if you could kindly share this slide, then I think you can sense some of the experiences that we had in Tonadico, which was the first actually time we invited the youths.